Give me a little bit more mic. Special good afternoon. My name is Augustine Lewis. I'm your host of the most famous, the most interactive youth program of its kind, Woke. This is our sixth episode, and today we have a very, very special guest in our midst. That is Meschida Philip. I would just allow our guest to introduce herself to the Grenadian people. Meschida.
Hi, good evening. Thank you for having me. I'm Meschida Philip, the founder of 12 Degrees North, 61 Degrees West Grenadian Film Festival.
Just introduce yourself to the Grenadian people, Tell us a little bit more about yourself.
Well, I'm Grenadian. I'm from right here, actually, on the GRENADA'S. Born and bred, grew up on the GRENADA'S earlier part of my life. I went to Boca Secondary School and then migrated as a teenager to the United States, and I'm here now.
Could you share a childhood story with the viewers?
Childhood story? Which one? The good one or the bad one?
Well, we will take anything.
You take any? I was a very shy child. That much I know. And all the guys here on the GRENADA'S and Park Lane area, I was the one who, when they're playing cricket in the pasture, only come out when it's time to bowl, and then I go back in because I didn't like to be in the field. So they can surely relate to that, And I'm still the same shy person for the most part. Yeah.
That's great. You stated that you are the founder of the film festival. Can you walk us through the birthplace of this initiative? How did it get started?
Okay, well, I'm a filmmaker. I went back to school a few years ago, and I have my master's in fine arts with a concentration on documentary filmmaking, actually. And after navigating the whole film circuit world for myself and my own projects, I conceptualized the idea after seeing certain things happening here in Grenada, and I felt that my expertise and my experiences can lend to the upliftment of the younger and emerging filmmakers here in Grenada. So myself, along with some of my colleagues, we started the film festival. So this is our first.
So this year would be the first of its kind, and what are your expectations for the festival?
I am expecting that we will be able to garner a lot of interest from emerging filmmakers and also seasoned filmmakers who are looking to kind of network and also to empower themselves with the newer trends that is happening internationally. We have some amazing facilitators coming in for workshops. You have me to utilize on basically my experiences out there. So we're hoping that persons really come out and utilize us and our just pull from us and also share with us what they're doing to see how we can also assist them.
Yeah, and the $1,000,000 question I would ask, why Grenada? I'm sure you and your colleague could choose another island or another country. Why Grenada?
Why not Grenada? I mean, I started out saying I'm Grenadian. I mean, for the life of me, this is where I feel at home. This is my home. I mean, every time I come here, my creativity is expanding. And when you look around, I'm inspired by all of the younger generation who is doing some amazing things, and you're pulling from that. So, yeah, why not Grenada? I mean...
You stated that your expertise is in that of short filmmaking and documentaries. If you could make a documentary on any part of Grenada's history, what part of Grenada's history would you make that documentary on, and why?
Oh my gosh. Wow, that is an amazing question. 10 seconds to think about it. I would say the revolution, and the reason why I would think that I've watched a lot of productions from that era, and it still does not really connect to the human side of the revolution. And I believe that I would certainly like to do something, a project on that, talking to the actual persons who are involved in it and getting it right.
So can I say that this year is a seed that I can be confident will be planted and germinate into that documentary that will tell the story of the revolution and, as you stated, the human side? Can I hold you accountable to that?
Oh Lord, you can hold me accountable to that, providing that we get funding. Let me tell you, to do these projects, it takes resources, and we need money, and we need to plan, and you need the contact. So it takes, I would say within the next year, but anything is possible. You never know who's listening out there. Someone who might be wanting to share their stories and saying, hey, I'll endorse this, I'll support this. So yeah.
You stated that this project would take a lot of resources.
Yes.
If you were to give us a rough estimate as to the cost of such a project, can you just give us a cost of hand? You never know, we may have someone in our audience who is willing to sow into that project.
Well, put it this way. My short documentary, don't get blown away by this number, okay? My first short documentary, which was self-funded by me, cost me about $10,000 to do, and it's 11 minutes. Yeah. So, for a feature-length documentary, after you're taking from research to getting all of your pre-production aspect going, post-production, production, it could run you anyway up to maybe $100,000 conservatively.
Wow.
Yeah. So it's not a cheap venture. Filmmaking and this whole industry is not a cheap venture. Persons can do it affordable. Like right now, everything that I'm doing is grassroots. Every single thing that, including this film festival, is self-funded by me. I guess I'm on a suicidal mission. Financial suicidal mission, you know. But you know, when you believe in something, you put it all. And I feel that if I want other persons to invest in me, I have to invest in myself first and foremost. So I go and I cry to my family and I said, you know, oh gosh, help me. And I go right back into doing it. So, you know, that's where it is. So yeah, on an average, easily, it can take that much to do.
I would say that you're a pioneer, and to have a young Grenadian as yourself, you know, studying abroad and coming back home and starting this initiative, I feel proud, you know, to be a part of a generation that is making waves.
Mm-hmm.
And then you will inspire someone. There will be young person who will be looking up to you, not only in your community, but throughout this country. How do you feel, you know, being able to inspire another young person?
Well, don't let my beautiful looks fool you. I'm much older than my looks, you know, lead on. But this is not my first rodeo. I've been here before. In 2007, my sister and I came back here. We had businesses here where we were trailblazers in so many different ways. We paved ways for our young and emerging artists, soca artists at the time, and rappers, and any kind of entertainers that way. So we basically helped streamline a lot of different things by doing poetry reading and talking to different businesses to have platforms for persons to perform. And today, as we sit here, there are some of the persons that we worked with back then that they're doing phenomenal stuff. And when I sit back, I look like a proud mama, right? So it's like, you know, I've seen them mature into what they have done and what they're doing right now, and I'm so proud of that. So persons tell me I'm an influencer and I'm a mentor, and you know, I'm so humble. I just take it as is and say, okay. And I sit in my room. I'm like, wow, okay, nice.
Yeah, oh, I think it's amazing to see someone evolution and to know that your positive energies and your good intentions would have contributed towards that. I think that is truly wonderful, and it makes you feel proud. It makes you feel that you are making a difference. You know, your footprints are definitely in the sands of someone's life, you know, and you're making a difference. And I think Steve Jobs said it a few years ago. He stated that a man should be ashamed to die without putting a dent on the universe. So most definitely you have dented the universe of several young persons, and you know, this initiative I think is wonderful and it is inspiring.
Mm-hmm.
And when our producer reached out to me and she stated that you were going to be on, I was very excited. I was nervous, wondering what sort of questions, you know, I would have to ask you. But one thing I would say, you have a warm and positive, you know, energy, and I feel like I actually known you for a long time.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you so much.
So can you tell us more about the festival?
Okay, so the festival, basically, we try to conceptualize it and model it after what is really out there internationally on a smaller scale, which I could have actually afford. And what we have done, we had some amazing partners who came on board to assist us in the process. So before I even go into it, I have to say thank you to Augustine, who is our main sponsor, venue sponsor for the festival, because they allowed us to be there for all 3 days of the festival. Deluxe Cinema, where we're screening this Saturday, and then Excel Plaza. So what does the festival entails? The festival entails 3 days of activities. So we're opening the festival Friday evening, that's May the 3rd at 5:30 at Lava Lanes. So we have a cocktail hour. Persons can come, take pictures, you get a welcome drink, you mingle with who's there, and then at 7 o'clock that evening, we're showcasing films by Caribbean female filmmakers.
Wow.
So all of the films that's showing that night is by Caribbean female filmmakers. And then we end the evening off with live entertainment with some of the local artists here in Grenada. Jenny J would be performing, and some of her friends would be performing that evening. And then Saturday, we have dual screenings at Lava Lane, as well as Deluxe Cinema all day. And we also have a children's program at Excel Plaza that Saturday morning. Sunday we have a brunch. It's a lot, right? And you can meet with the filmmakers, and you'll see the best of the festival, and we close the festival off that Sunday afternoon. So that's the weekend. But leading up, we have workshops that's taking place.
That's wonderful. You stated that most of the films that will be aired would be from female Caribbean producers. Can you speak to our aspiring female, I would say, filmmakers in Grenada? Can you inspire them? Can you just look into the camera and just touch a young heart to...
Touch a young heart, of course I can. My company, M Projects Creative Services, that's the one that's actually putting on the film festival here. My goal with this is to nurture and shape females who are interested in the industry. Because what you're finding out there is, in the entertainment world, we're still lacking, and there's still a disparity as far as how many females that are working in the industry. So if we can have, you know, like how Beyonce have an all-female band, if I can have an all-female production team, man, we'll be the bomb diggity. Can I say that? Or that's an old term. I'm aging myself, right? So that's the goal here.
I guess it will be a Grenadian version of the Powerpuff Girls.
It will. I like to coin myself as the Ava DuVernay of the Caribbean. I feel that as far as I'm having persons who are investing in me and I'm continuing to pour out to the younger generation, together we all will build. So yeah, that's one of my inspirations.
Growing up, we look at a lot of television, like, and most time it will be from North America, and we into animation and cartoons, and most of the stories told, they're not Caribbean. Do you one day foresee yourself at least bringing one of our, I would say, all Caribbean, I would say legend and folklore to actual screen in terms of animation?
I'm not an animator per se, but I do enjoy the animations that is out there. Like through this journey right now, I am coming in contact with a lot of illustrators, Grenadian illustrators and animators. So it would be nice if we can marry both my wealth in storytelling with that technology and the craft that they have and marry it. That would be nice. But you touched on something. Me growing up, I did not really grow up with North American influences in that sense. In watching it, I was more like a fan of Asian films, like Chinese movies. That's my thing, and Asian films. So I like Indian movies and Chinese movies. So that's my thing, and yeah. That was me growing up. I'm cracking up here. So, but I understand where you're coming from, and I think it's very important now as an adult looking at the landscape of what's happening, that our narratives are being told and our culture is being preserved in that sense, with us being authentic and telling our stories. Hence the reason I come back home to do my work as opposed to staying in America and telling the stories through those lenses.
I think that this is wonderful, and I see it as a seed. And this conversation, I know and I'm confident that, it will bear fruits. And we may see a Nancy production coming out of this. There is a legend with the, just give me 1 second. The Larger Bless.
The Larger Bless, yes.
Yeah, and this is a story that intrigues a lot, and to be able to see an animation.
I don't know if I can tell the Larger Bless story because I'm not a horror person. I am so coward. So even if they're writing it on script, I'll be too scared out of my pants to do a Larger Bless story. So
yeah, because most time they grow up and you look at what they look at. Angelina Ballerina, and this is not Caribbean. We want to give our kids a part of our culture and to grow up on our culture rather than someone else's, to have that strong Grenadian and Caribbean identity. And I think your initiative can definitely lend a hand into that, because most time we have this inferiority complex as Caribbean people, whereby we see ourselves as being inferior. And to tell our own stories and our own narratives, I think that is a powerful step in the right direction to attack, if I should say, that inferiority complex.
I think drawing from my own personal experiences, living both here, having the opportunity to live both here and migrating to the United States as a younger person, it gives me a better foundation as far as you use the word identity, of identifying myself. And I encourage anyone who can travel to do so and open up your concept of the world and your lenses of the world to see that what we have here in Grenada is so unique and so precious to us. A lot of us don't really appreciate the finite things that we have because it's like we're accustomed to it. But once you leave our shows and you go out there, you're recognizing that, whoa, we have a wealth of experiences here, a wealth of things that we need to preserve here and keep it close to us, So that's why I come home. I come home because of that.
And in the words of Elimas Gilbert, the inspector, no place sweeter than home.
Hey.
I'm sure you have had a mango already.
I've had a mango. I had what's the purple thing? I had a fruit today in the market. I can't remember the name of it. It was sticky. I had the sapodillos in my car right now.
Sapodillo.
And then there was another one. It's a purple fruit, and you had to rub it to make it soft. But I can't remember the name of it. But I'm like, my taste buds is not.
It may be Star Apple.
Star Apple. That's the name of it. I can't remember. I'm like, this one. My taste buds was not. I'm like, nah, I'm not liking that one. But it was nice to be able to go to the gardens and pick the fruits off the trees.
That is wonderful.
Yeah, so I appreciate that in the morning time.
That is one of the perks of island living.
I know, right?
Everything is fresh off the tree rather than coming from a supermarket. You can pick a mango fresh from the tree. You can pick an orange fresh from the tree, and this is so authentic and this is so wonderful. I think that the world is a wonderful place, but I think Grenada is extra special, and I will not trade this country for anything else. I love being in Grenada despite our challenges financially. I will not give up Grenada for anything. And when I see young people as yourself coming back to Grenada to add to Grenada with such an initiative, I feel proud.
Well, thank you. Thank you for recognizing that, because it's a lot of hard work and it's a lot of sacrifices that we make to make this possible. I'm not the first, and I'm certainly not going to be the last, but I'm amongst those trailblazers who are actually doing things and wanting to come back home and do much more, because it's so important for us to marry our experiences. A lot of us here are, as you said earlier, we're influenced by the Western lifestyle, and what a lot of our younger generation are perceiving is the truth, because they're seeing these things on the internet and stuff like that. As far as lifestyle in America and those places is not necessarily accurately the truth, and I think a lot of persons are disillusioned by that most times. But when we come back home and we give, is because we really and truly want to be here, and we're making that sacrifice to be here. So it's for persons to embrace us, learn from our experiences, and just build upon what it is that we are projecting out.
You stated that during the week of activities you will have workshops. Can you walk us through those workshops?
I've partnered with some amazing talent, female talents who are coming in. Again, female. I'm telling you, I'm subconsciously I'm building that team, man. And no offense to the men, we still need you guys to carry all the heavy equipment. George is pucking up his muscles. No, but so I've partnered up with this company in America called Seed and Spark, and the instructor that's coming in, she's actually going to be teaching on crowdfunding, pitching your ideas, distribution. After you make your film, what do you do with it, rather than just uploading it on YouTube? You see, your product, meaning your film, whether it's your selfie that you're talking into your phone or something that you took the time to edit, that's your intellectual property, that's yours. And a lot of people don't realize that you're freely sharing your stuff, but that's your value. So we're talking about how do you preserve that, and what do you do with it when it's finished? So that's the whole distribution aspect of the business. Then we have partnered with another friend of mine in Trinidad. She has a company called Fixer Films, and she's actually doing a festival called Folklore. Yeah, so she's tapping into the things that you're talking about, that larger blessed thing that you're talking about in Trinidad, the Trinidadian version. Yeah. And she's coming in and she's teaching on production, scheduling, prepping your set, budgeting, because it's important to know how to manage your money and your time when you're doing production, because every minute costs or every second costs on the set, And more so, I'm even more proud to say that apart from my regional and international partnering, I've also partnered with our local experts here in Grenada. So we are working with Shelly, who owns Elan makeup studio in the mall, and we also partnered with Divya, who is going to be coming in and doing a class on film and television makeup. And it's so important because we have all these young kids here who love makeup. And we have a lot of people who's producing, right? But they don't understand there's an art to it also. So they'll be hosting that part of the workshop. And we have another workshop taught by another friend of mine who is coming in, and that's story development and screenwriting. So we have these amazing classes, and I'm hoping persons come out to do so, because these women are the best in their fields.
And what is the cost associated with the workshop that will be held?
So the cost for the workshops is all of the workshops except for the screenwriting workshop is about 3 hours for each of the duration of the workshop is about 3 hours, and that is only 155 EC dollars up until April 22nd. There's a special going on right now, and people need to take advantage of that. After that, the price is increased by $50, so it's going to go up to like 185. The screenwriting workshop, that is longer. That's about 4.5 hours or something like that, and that is 150 right now. And after the 22nd, it's going to go up to $200. So we're asking persons, if you're seriously interested in it, go to our website and purchase the tickets right now. There's a promotional code that is going around, so take advantage of it.
You speak of your website. Can you tell the people what your website is?
The website is 1261. That's 1261 filmfestival.com. And on there, we are uploading the film schedules right now. So persons in the next few days can see all the films that we're showing. But the link to the workshop is there, so people can go in and take advantage of that.
You mentioned the name of the festival, and I must say it's quite intriguing and it's quite unique. Can you walk the audience through the birthplace of this name? How did you come about with this name?
That name came up from when we were shooting my last film, which is going to be showcased at the festival. It's dealing with longitude, latitude somewhat at the time. And in the process of trying to find the right name for the festival and brainstorming with my colleague, we came up with the concept of 12 degrees north, 61 degrees west. And we wanted something that was unique to us. It had to be unique to Grenada, and that's the coordinates for the people who don't know. That's the beginning coordinates of Grenada.
That's wonderful. And in terms of the workshop, what have the responses been like from the public?
Slowly enough, we are getting some persons who are interested in the workshops, but we need to spread the word more so persons can be aware of all the things that is happening. So again, we're encouraging all the young creatives, and even if you think you cannot afford it, contact us, because you never know. There's always ways in the festival, there's always ways in which you can get things. You can volunteer your time, your expertise. You can come and say, hey, let me carry the bag and let me just sit, But I'm not saying the whole of Grenada to come in, because we still need to pay the guys, so I still need help financially. So please purchase your tickets. But seriously, contact us if you really are interested, and let us know.
That's great. What about, I look at in terms of the quality of music videos.
Mm-hmm.
Over the years,
Mm-hmm.
there have been a significant improvement in terms of the quality.
I agree.
But if you were to compare Grenada with Trinidad, you would realize that the quantity of videos in Trinidad is of a much higher quantity than in Grenada. How do we improve? How do we have more music videos done here? And in terms of the production costs, how do we cut it back?
In terms of the music videos, I agree with you. There is a lot more music videos coming out of here, but again, it's something that deals with the artists, persons respecting the producers. This is a business, so persons cannot expect to say, "Give me that for free now, give me that for free now, give me." It costs money to do these things. From on the production side, it's about persons telling bigger stories rather than because something is a trend right now. All the music videos are just going to have drone shots. You know that's not it. You still have to tell a story. So when you're looking at that, it comes back again as small films that you're creating. So it's a process in making that happen. But I think the guys are onto something, and we have a segment in the festival that was dealing with music videos. We had a call for music videos and asking persons to submit a music video because again, that's part of the visual arts, and you want to promote that. So I'm saying kudos to them. Just continue doing it.
Can you speak to to an aspiring artist, who may view music video as not being that important, but can you speak to that artist in terms of using music video to even push their brand and their product to wider markets?
What I've learned is the visual is what works. Visual stimulates people because right now we are attached to our smartphones and everything, and you need to see everything, right? Because that's what entertains persons. And I think that for artists coming up, they should, if they can, barter if they cannot really afford it. And yeah, get some videos out there and market yourself that way. But in the process, you need to brand yourself.
Most definitely. And I think that most of the things you talk about in the workshop, it can be addressed. So So it's very important for aspiring soca artists or reggae artists or musicians to come out to this workshop. You would learn a lot in terms of how to better improve your production as well as managing a set, and there is so much that you can learn in terms of protecting your intellectual property as well, which is very important right now.
It is very important, and also persons have to understand, right? Like I like to consider myself a grassroots filmmaker, right? And you have so many different mechanisms now that is out there. People can make videos on their cell phones or films on their cell phones. You can make things on expensive cameras. You can make things with DSLR. It all depends on where you're at, where your budget is. It doesn't prevent you from doing it. However, there is a certain method and there are certain expectations. Even if you're shooting it on a cell phone, you have to try to get the right angles when you're doing certain things, the right composition when you're doing certain things, lighting when you're doing it, because today smartphones are really smart. They're just as good as a camera, and they're more discreet, so you can get away with getting that documentary cinema verite style without being so obvious, a fly-on-the-wall filmmaker in that sense. But again, even if you're shooting on a cell phone, take a little time to prep your set a little bit more and take a little time in understanding the lighting and the concepts and all these things. And you do what you have to do. So you don't have to be Michael Spielberg out there with all this big expensive equipment, because I don't even own expensive equipment. I have my DSLR and that's what I shoot on. My last film, we shot it on a DSLR, and when people look at the quality, it's like, whoa, my DP did an amazing job. It all depends on the lens. Lens is what makes it, because the glass is what tells the difference in the way things look, the sharpness in it. So yeah.
I have a question for you.
Okay.
I
hope I can answer.
Films contribute to the development of morality in our society?
I'm sorry, can you repeat it?
Do your films contribute to the development of morality in our society?
You're a smart one. Lord Jesus. That's some hard questions. I would like to believe so. I would like to believe that my films that I put my attention to are doing exactly that, is contributing, is evoking different thought processes in our society. Like my first film, Scars of a Mother's Dreams, that was inspired by my own life and my own experiences, but it touched on something that no one really talked about for a very long time, and that dealt with the emotional trauma that children experiences when their parents migrate and leave them back home. And when I'm speaking on that, I still get teary-eyed because it took years for the relationship between my mom and I to even get tighter because of that abandonment issue that I felt growing up. So all my life, I had to now, I questioned a lot of things about myself then. And I thought it was just isolated to me until I started the process and recognizing that it's a bigger something. And I'm like, whoa, so it's a societal something that leads to us questioning a lot of different morals and values as to why we do certain things. And then my second film that I'm working on is touching on another subject matter that persons don't really want to entertain, but trust and believe me, it exists here, it exists around us, and that's human trafficking. And we like to say it doesn't really exist here in Grenada, you know, because we don't have any recorded cases per se of that existing here on our shows. But from the data that you're looking at outside of our boundaries, it's happening so prevalently in Trinidad, it's happening in Venezuela, it's happening in St. Lucia, it's happening in St. Vincent, it's happening in Barbados, it's happening in Haiti. And I'm talking about countries right now that are neighboring countries. We're still, I don't understand. You know, kudos to the police and our police force here and our military forces here. We don't really have a military, but you know what I mean, yeah. Of still protecting us with the resources that they have, that we're not having these recorded cases here. But who is to say tomorrow morning when we wake up, we are not going to be faced with the first one? We don't know. So our kids still need to be aware of what's happening. We need to start talking and having these conversations. Parents need to start saying, hold up, and being a little bit more vigilant about what's happening here. And so those are some of the things that I am interested in. If my sister is sitting right here, she's like, Lord Jesus, at least write a comedy or something. So I do promise them that I'll try to write a comedy and not to get too serious again after.
But just to touch on your first film,
Mm-hmm.
There are a lot of people that I know who had their parents would have traveled abroad, and they would have the Jordans, they would have the latest sneakers and gadgets, but there was something missing. You know, although they had the latest clothes to wear, they missed that connection with their mom or their dad. And they would envy you who
Mm-hmm.
have your parents and your brothers and your sisters, and you had that family unit. They would envy you. And sometimes you will be like perplexed to wonder, like, you have the Jordans, you have the latest, I don't have none of that, but yet still you want that human interaction. Because I had a friend a few years ago, and she was relating to me a story, and she stated that she had a deeper connection with her grandmother
Mm-hmm.
than her own biological mom, who had to travel abroad to seek a better life for her and her siblings.
You see,
So she even stated that she never get over the fact that her mom had to leave. And she told me that if she had the chance, she would rather her mom stayed rather than travel abroad.
well, you see, when I came back in 2017 to screen my film for the first time here in Grenada, we showed it at the Connection at Karani James. And one of the things that came out of it was the fact that I would never forget, Kalana and I were talking about that, and it was present versus presence. You understand me? And that's the thing. A lot of us are gifted with presence, right?
Yeah.
But we lack the present of presence of our parents.
Wow.
We lack that nurturing aspect, and most times in our formative years is when that separation happens. So because again we come from a society where we don't really talk much about the psychological development of persons and that emotional aspect of things, we tend to just push it by the wayside and say just deal with it. But there's a loss that is embedded in you. There is an emptiness that is embedded in you. So it leads one to think, when a man is abusive to his wife or his girlfriend, why is he reacting that way? If a woman is closed off in a certain way, why is she reacting in a certain way? And I'm not saying that abuse comes from, please, the disclaimer is there, that I'm not saying because a man did not grow up with his mother, he's abusive. But there's this core foundation that makes you start to peel the layers off and start questioning, why is it this way? For me, I was a very closed off person because I lacked trust in people, and it took me getting married to start questioning a lot of things about myself, because in my marriage at that time, there were things that were triggering certain behavioral aspect of myself. So I did go to therapy, and through that process, I was able now to kind of make certain connections and awareness of that. And that took me right back to that period of my life when my parents migrated and I felt how I felt. So it's a very powerful piece. People are asking me to do a feature length on it, but I'm not sure if I really want to dive down into that emotional roller coaster, because it takes a lot to do something like that. It really makes one very vulnerable. So I could identify with your friend. Every time my film is screened somewhere, someone always come up and ask me, so where are you now with your mom? Or how can I fix something with my own parent? And the thing is, start having the conversations, because, and be prepared to sometimes get answers or a response that may not be favorable to you. And you just have to accept what it is.
That's quite touching and quite deep,
Oh, we could talk forever with that.
I must say it was authentically real. I felt your emotions, and I could tell that it's it's emotional for you too. And the mere fact that you're open enough to share with us, I'm deeply appreciative of that.
Mm-hmm.
One of our major social ills in Grenada is that of sexual violence against children and women, And to me, although we are having conversation about it, I still believe that more conversation needs to be had. And not only conversation, but stricter legislation. There is this case presently with this 5-year-old who was abused by a 45-year-old. I'm not sure as to the entire dynamics of the case, but that individual paid at least $3,200 and was able to walk free. How do you look at that? How do you feel about such a scenario?
Oh gosh, Lord, you didn't prep me for this one. Those are like really heavy. Those are very heavy topics to kind of dissect. I don't have any kids of my own, but I do have nieces and nephews, and I have a 11-year-old who is taller than I am, bigger than I am, and she, sometimes you forget that she's still a baby, but she's 11, and I see the way grown men might look at her, and I'm fearful about that. I'm fearful to bring her to Grenada with me, and she wants to come here so badly, and I said, nah, you gotta come with your father, because I don't want to be responsible for that. So when you hear cases of a 45-year-old, a 5-year-old, I question, what is it in that little 5-year-old that you can desire so much that you can't get from a grown person. But then now you have to separate that emotional part of it, right? Talk about compartmentalizing things, and then you have to hone in on the psychological and the emotional aspect and constraint of that individual who is actually committing the act, and trying to figure out in his own life, where was he abused? Where did he, where are some of the components that made him into the person he is? And we have to try to start fixing those regimens first before you start now just sanctioning and sanctioning and sanctioning. And a lot of the times when you're seeing things like that, in our society there has been years of abuse that is hidden under the rug and no one talks about it. So sometimes the victim who were abused at that time becomes the abuser, and all we see is the end product, but you're not seeing the beginning part of it. So what is happening, this movement now where you're having a lot of people now reporting these abuses as it comes on board, that's a good way to start, in my opinion. But then after the abuse is reported, what are the regimens in place to help now? Not just deal with the victim part of it, but also the person who's doing the abusing. What are the psychological parts that are we helping to finesse and help them in the process? Because when someone is let go, they're going to just repeat it again because they were never helped to begin with. And then locking someone up forever and not even having things in place to help them in the process, that defeats the purpose just the same. So, we have to look at the different mechanism in place. Our psychotherapy section here in Grenada, we need to have more therapists coming in here. And I'm not just talking, people are not confident in a lot of the persons who are helping them with the psychological and emotional aspect, because they feel that I go talk to the doctor and before I leave the office, somebody's going to say, and all my business is going to be on their own, and not understanding the depth of it. But we need more persons coming back and helping us, because as Black people here in the Caribbean and general, we tend to shoulder a lot of things because people say, oh, you don't need to say because Black people are strong, but we are human beings first and foremost, and all of us deals with emotional stuff, and all of us are broken because life is difficult at times. There are so many things that people are dealing with, and we need to stop with this nonsense and start putting things in place. And I think your mental wellness and mental health is a big part of it. A lot of the crimes as is happening in the world, I think, stems from that whole mental part of things. So we need to have regimens in place for that.
Do you see yourself making a documentary highlighting some of those victim cries? Because
would you like me to make a documentary? Did I just tell you I'm doing comedy?
I will officially let the cat out of the bag, and I would ask you to do a documentary on that. I think that there are many stories that needs to be told, because most time when this is happening in Grenada, a lot of people in authority try to have it sweep under the rug to give this impression that these things are not happening in Grenada. And I believe helping our victims is more important than trying to keep an image of the country, because there are lives that are being torn apart. And as you stated, how do we help those individuals after the person, the perpetrator goes to jail? How do we work with the victim? Is there any structures in place? And how do we provide them with the counseling and the moral support? And in terms of their family, how will their family be able to deal with it? Sometimes the family haven't been exposed to any high level of counseling, so they don't know how to embrace and to incorporate that person back into the family unit. So there's a lot of things that can be done. But I most definitely think that if you were to do a documentary on that, it will definitely help.
Would you be my protector?
Most definitely.
Because when you start opening up the boxes, right? Sometimes we're very fearful to see what comes out of those boxes. You understand me? And trust me, as a documentary filmmaker, my biggest thing is making sure my safety is number one. But the whole process of doing the film, that's why I converted it into a narrative as opposed to a documentary for the whole human trafficking thing. Because my mama, I remember her saying, who gonna protect you? So my nephew's like, what if the documentary filmmaker get kidnapped herself? That's the show right there. No, because we're laughing about it, but this is serious stuff. Because when you start going into things, the depth and the reach of certain corruption sometimes is so far that you yourself becomes a risk. So, yeah, you need fixers, and you need to protect yourself, and you need investors, and you need a strong team around you to protect that authentic part of the work that you're doing. So yeah. So if you're going to be my protector, sure, let's go.
Most definitely, I will provide my security services, and I'm just going to put the word out on the street.
Oh, so he has a security? Okay, so I'm set.
I'm just gonna take in a few comments from our viewers. Just give me 1 second.
Sure.
A key one that said yes to young people interested in exploring and expanding conversation about Grenada revolution, especially through creative arts. Older folks needs to invest in and help turn their dreams into reality. So this person is most definitely in favor of the documentary on the revolution.
I think it's a combination of both, right? Because if you ask some of the younger folks right now, and they don't even know. I was just having a conversation this week actually with someone, and they said if you tell the young kids the dates of historical moments, they don't even know. You understand me? And it stems from where does that stem from? Where does that lack of knowledge stem from? And you can't blame schools, you can't blame teachers. It's a communal thing. Back then, one have to teach one, and the parent have to teach. When I was going through and I'm doing research, and you recognize that education only became free for everyone in 1982, is it? It was just then. Because if they didn't give it then, I, myself, and my sister at that time were kids, we would not have been able to go to school because maybe my mom would not have been able to afford it. So as far as that is concerned, with the young people and the older people, I think it's a marry. Young kids have to be now open and receptive to hearing what the older folks are saying, and the older folks have to be trusting enough to say, let me pass on that knowledge to our children.
Most definitely. I have another comment from our audience, Cassandra Mitchell. Many believe that human trafficking speaks only through transportation or movement of people, but it happens within our borders as well.
I agree, Cassandra, because what people fail to understand is that, and this is my opinion, this is only Meschida's opinion, when someone transports a child from St. Patrick's and cross parish boundaries, that is a form of trafficking, providing that you're exchanging services for something else. When you take an individual and you put them in your home, and you start saying now that work for me, and you're not even compensating that person, come and wash my clothes and clean my house, and you're not even giving that person an adequate wage for their services, that's labor. You understand me? Trafficking, because you're taking advantage of those situations. I'm not saying that everything is categorized as such, but we need to start sensitizing the actions of what people are doing here. You have people who are doing things voluntarily and people who are doing things involuntarily. I think when people are talking about human trafficking, the first thing that comes to mind is only sex. Like that person is doing prostitution, or that person is doing this. but there are so many different categories that falls underneath the realm of human trafficking that persons need to start becoming familiarized with these different segments and terminologies that is happening out here.
Most definitely, and I must say that was a very deep response. What will you say is your responsibility in terms of the field of visual arts to, I would say, sensitizing and educating our population, both young and old? How big of a responsibility is that?
How big? Whatever you say, that's exactly what my responsibility is. I was thinking about that for some time now, and I'm still trying to understand my real purpose, but I know that I am a connector, I am an influencer, I am a giver, and I like to share. And my whole purpose right now is to, if I can just help one more individual plateau in a certain way, then my job is complete, whatever you interpret my role to be is what my role should be. I am not defining myself in one way, shape, or form because I don't believe in defining by titles or anything like that. Does that make sense?
It is authentic and it is real and it comes from your heart, so I will embrace it.
Oh, thank you. Yeah.
One of the name of our program is Woke, and it speaks to consciously awaken the Grenadian people,
yeah,
especially our young people, to be able to look at things critically and to make a lot of difficult decisions, because there are a lot of challenges facing our young people. And there are a lot of young people who I would say they're a bit depressed.
Mm-hmm.
They're searching for inspiration.
Purpose.
They're looking for someone that they can pattern their life after. How do you speak to those young persons? What will you say to them?
Oh gosh, quickly, what would I say to them? Start journaling. Start writing and start questioning yourself first. A big part of it is not looking sometimes for the external influences, but start trying to identify who you are first. And once you recognize that, then you can start patterning yourself in that sense. Whatever it is that you're doing, just know that it takes dedication to achieve that, and it's not 1, 2, 3. It's not a fast overnight something. So baby steps, and you have to invest back in yourself. And I'm not talking about just money, but I'm also talking about education. So you have to start educating yourself. Yeah.
So in terms just to make a sense of what you're saying, self-help is very important.
Yes.
One has to take responsibility in terms
Mm-hmm.
of developing themselves.
Yes.
Educationally,
Education
emotionally, and
yes.
mentally as well,
Mm-hmm.
because it's important that we keep our mental health
That's
intact.
right. That's right.
But we're basically we're wrapping up right now.
Already?
Our conversation has been very deep. It has been organic. I enjoy speaking to you. I can speak to you
enjoy
for
speaking
24
with you too.
hours.
You're my security, so yeah.
But I really want to thank Grenada Broadcast, Mr. George Grant, for investing in our young people. We deeply appreciate him. And without him, work could not have been a success. I want to thank the many young persons in the background as well. Renee Thomas. Renee has been a lifeline. I want to thank young people who has been on as well. Joel Greenage. Cassandra has been a very, very deep influence. Earl Maitland and Belinda, Rickelson, and so many other young persons. Anders Frank, we want to thank you as well. So many persons and all our audience who has sewed into this project, if I should say, by sharing the program, by viewing and by commenting. I just want to thank you guys. And just before I leave, I did not even know if I would have been a part of that program today. Just on Monday, I lost my aunt, my auntie.
My condolences.
And it has been very difficult for me and my family. But through the grace of God, I'm still there. You know, I've lost my auntie Cynthia, and I just wanna, you know, pour strength into Ariel, my cousin, Alex, sister Robbie, and the entire family, you know, to be strong. And I appreciate the support of the people who has reached out to myself and my family during this difficult period. So just want to thank you. I'm getting emotional.
It's
Do you
okay
have
to be
any
emotional.
positive
I just want to say
words?
thank you, and thank you to all my sponsors and partners and supporters and everyone who is investing in coming out May 3rd and 4th and 5th. Thank you to Grenada Broadcast. Thank you to you for sitting next to me and having such a beautiful talk. Even if you're going through what you're going through, my condolences to you and your family. Mr. George, Renee, thank you. And see you guys on the other side.
Thank you very much.
Oh my God, are you still on?